What took you an embarrassing amount of time to figure out? When I was growing up, the family would often do road trips to Vancouver, at least once a year. Just outside Williams Lake, I would always observe a construction site where some sort of log house is being built. It was always half finished. After like a decade, I was maybe 18 and finally made the comment about them still building that place. Apparently they build custom log homes on site and disassemble and ship them out. That would trip me up as well, haha. Especially if one year the house looks even less developed than last year. Dang, those redesigns are really extending that project schedule. That those ridiculous over-the-top dresses exhibited at fashion shows are not intended to ever be worn in real life. They are like concept cars of the fashion world, intended to showcase the designer's creativity and vision. I spent so long wondering why anyone would ever wear them, Lamau. Come on, you've never wanted to literally wear a ducking motorcycle chassis? It would fit with my handlebar mustache, Ken. In Lady and the Tramp, the humans are called Jim, Dear and Darling. I was in my 30s before I realized that wasn't their actual names, it was what Lady heard them calling each other. Edit. Wow. Woke up to all these comments. I'm not as embarrassed now. Thank you all. Before my cataract surgery, I thought Hellboy wore aviator goggles. Post-surgery, I saw they were remnants of his horns. I always think Hess just got goggles hiked up on his forehead, despite having seen the movies with my contacts in. The horn stumps were supposed to evoke goggles, I believe, as part of Hellboy's blue-collar vibe. My French press. I owned one 9 months before I realized the coffee grounds go under the plunger and not on top of it. I was always so annoyed having to clean the top of the plunger after lowering the coffee into the water. My girlfriend stared at me like I was the stupidest person she'd ever met trying to formulate how to politely fix this. How did you keep the grounds out of your mug of coffee? You pull up and dump in the trash. Minimal grinds. When I was younger, I thought Feet was a very popular rapper. Eminem, Feet, 50 Cent, etc. I was like, damn, this Feet guy appears in a lot of songs. Wait till you hear about various artists. That chickens always lay eggs without needing to mate with a rooster. I have chickens and people have argued with me about this, lol. Like literally, I have 5 hens and 0 roosters and I get eggs every day and people argue and say it doesn't work like that. Edit. Okay, after like 50 comments saying it's a chicken period, I think we all know this fact now, lol. I used to have chickens and my friends would get mad at me for forcing them to lay eggs. It doesn't work like that either. I'm laughing just picturing you yelling at your chickens to lay some ducking eggs. When I was a kid back in the early 90s, I was obsessed with WWF wrestling. It didn't hit me until years later that The Undertaker's manager's name, Paul Bearer, wasn't his real name. Fun side note, Bill Moody, aka Percy Pringle Paul Bearer, was a licensed funeral director. I realized a few years ago that cows don't just naturally produce milk, they have to be pregnant, have a calf to produce it. Which is embarrassingly late to figure out. That I wasn't, in fact, the family member that best washes the dishes. Yes, I'm the youngest. It gave you a lot of positive reinforcement, lol. At least you knew you were good at something on down days. I can always wash dishes. The rapper Flo Rida is from Florida. That I knew. I just didn't know that Flo Rida was Florida with a space. I'm an idiot. You can't have your cake and eat it doesn't mean you can't obtain your cake then eat it. It means you can't still possess your cake after having eaten it. Oh. That the state Montana is literally the word mountains in Spanish. Didn't realize until I was physically in Montana, staring up at some mountains, and thought, wow. Mountains are so pretty. Montas Montañas Montana, oh. You'll be thrilled to hear about Vermont. The Green Mountain State, Vermont. I'm a bloody moron. Michigan is the same way, it's just a French translation of large lake in Ojibwe. Also, Detroit is straight in French, because you know it's on one. Like Detroit du Mackinac means Mackinac Strait. Pennsylvania is Penn's Forest. Because Charles II owed a lot of money, he just gave the entire territory, roughly half of the United Kingdom nowadays, to William Penn. And Transylvania is past the forest. How to use a staple remover. Until I was in my 40s, it just used the staple remover to bite the long side of a staple and kind of tear it back through the paper. Then someone showed me how to properly use a staple remover by biting the crimped side of the staple to bend the crimp and kind of straighten out the staple again. Once kind of straightened, bite the long side of the staple and the staple will back out the same holes it went in without further tearing the paper. Too much effort, will continue pretending I'm a big snake and ripping a hole in the paper with my fangs. That ringing in the ears is not a normal thing everyone experiences or a superstition that someone is talking about you. I was 30 when I realized that it is tinnitus, and not normal even though I've had it since I was around 13, too loud music. Edit, in case anyone is curious, it was 8-ball and MJGs coming out hard that officially started my life of background noise. When I was separating from the USAF, I had a medical out processing, and after the hearing test the tech said you didn't hear anything for the last minute. And I said no, just the normal background ringing that everyone hears. The tech looked at me and says, "What?" That day I learned not everyone hears that. What's funny is my father had the complete opposite reaction to me getting tinnitus. Looked at me and said, "Look, everyone has ringing in their ears. That's normal." 2 months later he was diagnosed when he started having anxiety issues due to it getting louder. I thought that ponies were baby horses till I was like 24. My 40-year-old coworker and I got into a debate about foals, baby horses, versus ponies, because he thought ponies were baby horses. I also had to explain that ponies are full-grown, and can birth foals, too. He couldn't believe it, and it blew his damn mind when he realized I was correct. Then, we got started on mini horses and how many horses can have foals, too. Hoo boy, that really threw him for a loop. Lamau. Edit, so glad that I could be able to teach all of you something new. Smile, thanks for silver. I was doing a crossword once and the clue was young horse. 4 letters, so of course I put foal. Nope, they had it as pony. I was incensed. Incensed, I tell you. When you do something wrong but with enthusiasm, and someone says, A for effort, I didn't understand that it meant an A as in school report card grades. It never made sense because in my head, E is for effort, like C is for cookie. I finally had someone explain it to me sometime after I turned 30. I say A for effort to my kids and it used to piss off my daughter so bad when she was little. That and sorry, Charlie. My name's not Charlie. No shit, kid. I named you. She also swore up and down potion was po-tia-on and really thought we were messing with her there. She was a funny kid. Sorry, Charlie. My name's not Charlie. No shit, kid. I named you. God, what a great line. There's a Garfield comic from 1983 where Garfield says that he hates designer sweaters. Then he lifts an arm and says, "The lizard chewed a hole in the armpit." It took me until about 2017 to realize that he is referring to the Lacoste crocodile. I have spent basically my entire life referring to every hole that forms in a piece of clothing as being caused by the lizard but without actually getting the joke. I thought it was just the surreal, absurdist humor that Garfield is known for. Segway sounds like Segway. Make UE for the king. That the trough in a porta potty is for the guy to pee in. I said to my dad one day, "How are you supposed to wash your hands in that sink with no water?" He stood there as shocked disbelief as he explained to me that is where you are to pee. I was probably around 18 when this happened. My brother talks about a lady he worked all summer. At the end of the summer she said it's so nice how all the porta potties have built-in backpack holders. Edit, she put her backpack in the urinal all summer. I didn't realize until my late teens early 20s that chemical castration means taking pills which render you infertile, not necessarily dipping someone's balls in a vat of acid. Yay, this one is pretty embarrassing. I feel so dumb. Always cringed when I heard chemical castration. I will sleep well tonight, knowing the truth. That the saying is nip it in the bud not bud. Horticulture, BB.